back to another Linux Gamecast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, Chivalry comes to Linux. Now you too can be a medieval dickweed. The MIMS begins early access. It's no sim dictator, and Humble gets keyed. Damn shame. Oh yeah, they're back.
Another world gets re-engineered. Hope you kept your old Sega CDs. Shadowrun prints money. But will they go too far? And running Linux is hard, but installing it's even harder.
OMG, Steam ate my home folder. Gaben needs to drag someone into a back office and talk to him/her about Bash. Heroes of Steel comes to Linux. It's so retro that it needs a library that's been discontinued since 2011. And Mr. Aaron Plattner steals the show one more time, providing both DMI errors and a partial fix for the NVIDIA Shield controller.
I'm Ben Stone, here at LGC Actual, joined by our tamed Canadian podcaster, Massa Huang.
Yes, watch him rub his nipples.
And all the way from Space, Portugal, that dulcet tone is Pedro Marquez. And together with
I think you got the
Shadowrun,
wrong adjective there.
we form a bit of a cocaine Voltron. It's brilliant. Before we get started, let's see what's going on in each other's life organs. Not much to report. I did get harassed at the bank because they wanted me to do something. I was physically in the bank because someone gave me cash. I was like, all right, I got enough. I still have this
Prop
laying
money.
around. Right, prop money.
Still laying around.
Still laying around. Got to do something with it at some point. And I was like, boom. It's like, you should open this whatever savings account and all this. And it's like, I will close my fucking account if you do not shut up. Apparently no one had ever told the teller that directly to her face. Could have been a guy. Didn't matter. I was pissed off. J-Man, what's up, baby?
Oh man, I got. Well, we're gearing up to launch our Patreon campaign, which we're going to talk a little bit about later. But while we were doing the write-up for all the goals and whatnot, we had Jiffa Hypno-Busey, which I neglected to throw a link in the chat realm too. But regardless, it's very hypnotic, and it caught me off guard Monday morning as I went in to finalize the damn thing, and I found myself hypnotized for about 5 minutes by a rotating infinite Gary Busey.
And over here, I got a new toy, and the cable's stuck there. It's a Rocat Kova Plus. It's got, like, the usual 7 buttons. It looks pretty. It's got adjustable DPIs on the fly, which is kind of awesome. I just keep it at around 800. It's pretty good. Oh, and it has Linux drivers. That's good.
That sounds brilliant. So, J-Man, do you ever think that Daleks get lonely, or maybe they need a dating site or something?
They might. I don't know.
I
Maybe
need
they
a
should.
partner.
You know what? Maybe if you feel like writing that website, you too can register exterminate.com
And
you can host it on HostGator.
Look at that. Unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, easy. Control panel. Try that demo. Get on there. 24/7, 365 tech support. They will pick up at 3 o'clock in the morning. All this business starting at just 20% off. That's 3.96 wet stinkies a month. J-Man, brilliant.
I think that's bullshit, because if you enter our offer code LinuxGameCastFTW, you can get 25% Oregon off your hosting Oregon.
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 All right.
Oregon. But you know what? We're not done being shills, because we launched our Patreon campaign. Hop on over to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. You can check that out. We got some lovely goals.
We do.
You should read through.
It's a podcast for who game on Linux and do other stuff good too. Starting at just one wet stinky a podcast. A couple of goals. Name them off, J-Man.
Yeah, we got prior robes. We get 25 bucks an episode. We get to wear giant heavy robes during the summer while we're doing the CHAIRQUISITIOon. You can watch us dehydrate, especially Ven, who doesn't have any water in him, just alcohol. We got one for getting Sandy on the show. We got, hold on, let me pull this up in like some other window.
We got one for Keep On Tried. We got a forced relocation where we're all moved to Kansas, and
Oh yeah, we got a nice one. If we get $1 million an episode, Pedro will paint me in the nude in the style documented in the documentary Tim's Vermeer, which I recommend you check out. It's an excellent documentary.
It is.
And we'll be living in a log cabin in Kansas at the time, so keep that in mind.
But you might be wondering, oh no, what if I already donate on the PayPals and that business? That's fine. We fucking love that.
It's all going to the same PayPal account. The old Donato buttons are not going away. This is just a nice way to consolidate a bunch of funding, open it up as a new avenue for people who want to give us.
Seriously, I mean, for me, it'd be a lot easier to do rewards, tier systems, and all that, as opposed to this jumbled together system I have right now that is not
ad hocness
integrated at all.
Yeah.
And hey, we know times are tough. 5 cents. Man, we'd love 5 cents if you get some value out of this business, this nightmare train, this distortion-filled ride of madness. But if you can't, no big issue. Like, one of the most important things is going out and spreading this distortion, telling other people about it, tying them to chairs, and forcing them to watch Pedro's face.
But you can check that out at patreon.com/LinuxGameCast. The link, of course, as all links, are in the show notes. But then, it looks like the horse is missing a couple directories.
Oh, it is, baby.
I guess you probably shouldn't delete the root out of it. It's our Steam
Linux
Update.
Oh boy, yeah.
Steam at my home folder, man.
This happened.
Yep. So if you've ever tried to remove the .steam directory from your home folder and maybe just symlink it so you could move it to, say, a 2 terabyte, 6 terabyte hard drive that you got laying around, you probably had no problems. But these guys here, apparently there's actually 5 people now on that thread alone that have actually run into this, and the guy that originally posted it was like, oh, it didn't just remove my home folder, I had a USB dongle plugged in and it flashed that too. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. So basically at one point steam.sh was running an rm-rf /**. Because
really what's going on is there's a variable that needs to get set to that Steam root directory. And if it's not set, because these guys don't know how to use the test statement in bash.
Yes.
Or because they actually are improperly using the rm command, because you don't need an asterisk if you just target a directory, because,
it's already recursive.
Yeah, so... and again, because Steam runs as your local user and not as with any level of privilege, it will only affect files that you actually own and have write access to. So yeah, it'll nuke your stuff. But again, it only will happen if you try to delete your Steam root. And one thing that does really concern me is that there are going to be people who are going to try and turn this on Linux and say, well, you shouldn't use Linux because blah blah blah, Steam will destroy your partition. Listen, this exact same thing could happen on Windows, except they don't use any command scripts or what do you call it, batch scripts on Windows, so you can't really screw that up. This is just bad programming on Valve's part. They screwed up.
And it could have all been avoided with some curly brackets.
It's got run as on Windows. You could actually seriously damage your system.
Yeah,
because most of the files on your system level partitions are owned by root or bin. You're at least you just lose your home information, which can suck, but it doesn't nuke your entire system.
All right, up next, Chivalry.
Milady.
They say Chivalry is dead.
This has absolutely went into beta earlier this week. Besiege castles, village trades. I was talking to Empty in the forums. He was like, oh, maybe we should, what is it? And he's like, is it Skyrim? And I said, 9. Skyrim deathmatch. It's
Counter-Strike with swords.
Yeah.
And axes and knives. And...
I mean, it's clocking at 24.99. It runs on the Unreal Engine 3. Don't need a whole lot to run it, if I remember correctly. Just Windows XP running in a VM. I'm joking. Yes. They don't have Linux requirements for it.
It's not technically out for Linux yet.
You still have to go turn on the beta. I had an interesting bug when I tried to play the tutorial, where I apparently spawned a bit too far away from the instructor. So he's like, you should block my attack. All right, I blocked your attack. You should try blocking by holding the right-click button. I'm doing that. And this went on for about 5 minutes until my roommate goes, "You just need to fucking block it." I'm like, "You do it!" And then he's like, "Oh, well, shit." Apparently, and what I had to do is I had to turn around, hit the B button to dodge towards him, so then I could block him.
I discovered, like, two, just right there in that tutorial, was when they're telling you to block, all your keys are locked down except for overhead thwack.
Oh, yeah.
So, I thwacked him.
Stab. I was just...
I thwacked him out of distance, and it was completely... I had to restart it. And then, after you get done with your first little skirmish, you walk out, and the guy's like, "Yellow swag, I'm going to stab you with a knife. You need to pick a faction." And I was like, fuck that, I don't care. I hit escape. Apparently no one thought about that, because that just breaks the entire script. When you hit, because it makes
nice.
it just disappears, and the guy just stands there and locks you out of all other controls. P-Man.
Yeah, I don't have the game yet, and I'm basically going to wait until the penguin shows up on the store page, or, until some sexy person at the Torn Banner Studios sends us a key. Hint, hint.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to sleep with you, Pedro. No one does.
So, the beginning.
Oh, the mims. So, these guys actually gave us they gave us 2 keys for this. We're going to cover this in the hate mail section because it is Maddie levels of incomprehensibility. But it is a god game, much in the style of Black and White, or that other one that Flibbit ported a long time ago. I don't know. I was never really one for god games, but I spun this up. I played about 3 minutes of it before. Just the stupid little underlings pissed me off to the point where it's like, if I keep playing, I will turn them all into salt. I don't give a shit anymore.
So it's an accurate god game, is what you're saying.
I don't know. The only god game I ever enjoyed watching somebody play was Good versus Evil, because it basically let you be the Old Testament smitey dick god. I'm like, I like that one. But let's see, what's this clocking in at? Regularly 20 quid for an early access game? Yeah, nope.
Honestly, don't pick this up for anything less than $10.
Yes.
Anything more?
Black Talons.
Oh, that's racist.
Racist.
Yes. Mechs and Mercs, Black Talons.
We finally get a mech game, unfortunately. It's this.
It's an RTS. Basically, well, it's an RTS. It's got some really nice looking graphics, and it's got a whole sci-fi story, apparently, going for it. People in the reviews seem to be very divided when it comes to this game. Some say it spreads itself too thin, catering to several different playstyles and elements from the RTS genre. Some people commend that very same thing. So, I don't get it. Again, it looks pretty, and, if you feel like spending $20 on an RTS, maybe it'll be your cup of tea. Personally, for me, it's not.
RTS is RTS is RTS. Well, what I was reading in the reviews was they haven't done nothing other than create an RTS standard lot with mechs. J-Man?
I have no opinion on this one way or another.
Okay, that's because you need a hero.
All right.
I'll hold it up for hero to the end of the night.
Now, P-Man, you got to tell me about this, because they sent us some keys, and I was like, okay, that's brilliant. Then I tried to launch it, and it didn't launch, and I didn't care.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, just a little background. Heroes of Steel, they call it a tactical RPG set in a grim, post-apocalyptic, medieval fantasy world. Yeah, apparently 2 people on the team could not decide if they wanted to do a post-apocalyptic or medieval game.
Suffers from some type of body dysmorphia.
Yeah, not dysmorphia. This is like scoliosis, man.
Yeah, the artwork...
her rib cage is malformed? Jeez.
But yeah, the reason why it didn't start, because it didn't start for me either, and I'm like, okay, I got 5 minutes to kill. So I exit Steam, start Steam through the terminal, launch the game. Oh, it's missing libglfw.so.2. Okay. Sudo yum provides libglfw. No such thing. Okay, let's go on Google. Oh, it hasn't been available since Fedora 15, and it was discontinued back in Fedora 14. So I had to track down a Fedora 15 RPM for it, install it, then symlink it to the game directory. Now, as soon as it started, I'm like, okay, it's going to launch now. Press play, full screen, both my monitors, which, unlike Unity, it successfully does it. Like, the full 3840 by 1080, no problems. So, I don't know which kind of engine they're using. Maybe it's their own homebrew thing. But, and here's the kicker, this is very much a mobile game because there are no graphics options whatsoever other than the teeny tiny Steam launcher that shows up when you click play to choose whether you want to play it or play it in a window. That's it.
Well, you know, it requires right here apt-get install on. Just run that under Fedora; it'll work like a charm.
Yeah.
Oh, or Arch. No, Pedro. Just as an aside, if any of you are running Fedora and you need to find some old fucking package, koji.fedoraproject.org is their entire build service, so you're probably going to find it there.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
I just went on RPM PB1. They got everything.
Just saying, for $11.99, I'll confirm over here on Ubuntu, it nopes equally, and yeah, that's a thing.
I didn't try this. I looked at it for like about 5 minutes.
It's very unresponsive. The whole thing playing
I figured I'd just skip over this one. This is
yeah.
Gunslugs.
This is Gunslugs. And if you believe the cover art, Mr. T is in here. But he's not. It's not Mr. T. It's not Mr. T at all. But what is it? It's another hipster pixel mobile port.
What the hell?
You know
all
how
right. Everybody else has got normal faces. Mr. T's got to have a square face. That's racist.
Minecraft.
That's totally racist. No, it's another one of these. If you scroll down, you see the review. The most hectic shooter I've played in months from AppSpy. That's custom reviews. Apparently, some people like it. I don't know. This looks like more crap they just threw on Steam to get a quick buck.
Full controller support. I believe that when I see it. Clocks in at $4.99. Yeah. So what is this trying to be? Like Metal Slug?
It's like a Metal Slug Contra type thing. I don't know.
It's basically Metal Slug with the Broforce art style. It's actually ripping off Metal Slug and the rip-off of Metal Slug. Sound the Inception horn.
I don't have the soundboard set up. I really need to get around to do that.
You really do. So why don't the horse crawl back into shell?
Oh, I mean, if the horse hadn't deleted its own bash binary, then maybe it could. So we're just gonna let that segmentation fault over there in the corner. Coming up next, regular news and some unpronounceable NVIDIA driver mumbo jumbo.
Gentlemen, now that the horse has been stabled back in whatever he calls home now since he ate it, it's called time for good old Linuxy news. And in true LGC fashion, we've got some driver updates for you.
That's right, Linux, x64, AMD 64, probably i386, we never know. It's out, 346.35. And it finally...
This is the latest long-lived branch, so if you don't feel like upgrading your GPU drivers all that often,
if you're thinking to yourself,
you want to install.
You're looking at this and you're like, Vin, this looks familiar. Another Vin would say, basically they just finalized all the stuff that was in the previous beta driver. But one thing they did have in here that I thought was interesting, and fuck all if I can find it right.
Let's see if you can pronounce it. Yeah, it's like on one line, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got a bite-sized Snickers if you know this, because they added accelerated support for rate, grate, bait, 8. Rate, gate, bait, times 8.
It's RGB, BGR, and, well, BGR by 8, apparently.
But they dramatically improved the OpenGL frame buffer object creation, and we get a little taste of this GTK3 user interface, which apparently I do not have fuck all installed on the render box in, because it's still nice and GTK2-y. Have you installed it, P-Man?
No, I have the beta, and they really didn't add anything new from what I saw in the release notes. They didn't add anything new that was already
Yeah,
in the previous beta. So
again,
I'm gonna
this
keep
is the
this one.
long-lived branch, so you're not seeing anything new. This is for people who don't like to upgrade their video card drivers all that often.
Yeah.
All right.
But hey, speaking of NVIDIA, Mr. Aaron Plattner, the head engineer for Linux in the
And our
NVIDIA
stalker.
Corp. Yeah, so he came on Google Plus, and display method interface headers are up now. If you're the hashtag NVIDIA GPU driver developer type, here's the FTP. And yeah, there's the README events showing you there. It's
It's very dry. It's just a lot of technical reference. It
It's
is
got
literally all
everything
technical reference
pretty
documentation.
much-
It means nothing
yeah.
unless you're a driver developer.
Nothing. And if you go to the FTP server, it's literally just header files. You can have a look at them, use them as you will. If you're one of the Nouveau guys, go ahead. I don't know.
All right.
Well,
Talk about
it's nice that they're doing this. But Plattner also had some sauce for you, didn't he?
because
Pedro?
apparently Pedro's just using the lead dude in charge of the Linux development as his personal.
Hey,
I need
hey
help.
man, he's actually the one that watched the show, and every now and again he's like pings you on the Google Pluses and says, "Hey, have you tried doing this or doing that?" So what he did here, I just got to work. Found a Google Plus notification. Okay. Oh, Aaron Plattner mentioned me in a post. Okay. Oh, yeah. So, does your Shield controller work
Pick
better
up
if you write the
sticks.
following into the udev rules d shield? So I did it. I ran those commands, and yeah, it kind of sort of works. It's not fully working yet because Steam does recognize the Shield controller here now, and all of the physical buttons are working, but the touch buttons, the start button here works, but the home button does not, and the back button does not, and the NVIDIA button doesn't do anything. The touchpad down here also does not work, neither do the volume controls if you run this. And that would actually be a nice functionality to have. So, looking forward to it.
That literally no game aside from like Infamous takes advantage of. But I mean,
Yeah.
so you have you tried playing games with it? Like, how is it? How is it as a controller?
It's awesome. It's a hell of a lot more comfortable than the PS2 DualShock. Because, I don't know, maybe I have slightly bigger hands and the PlayStation
don't.
controllers were always a bit tiny. This one's big, it's bulky, and the trigger buttons, especially the trigger buttons, they have some travel to them. They actually count as axes, not just buttons. That's kind of awesome. That's really, really good. Big fan of this controller. Wish it worked better.
All right, well, hey, at least it's something. But begun, the speculation has. Ah, yes, AMD, the red-headed stepchild of Linux driver development. This doesn't really have anything much to do with Linux, but it is interesting to mention 3 of their senior executives are getting the axe as, what's their name, Lisa Su takes over as the CEO. They have one guy replacing 2 of the other people. I think I think they're called, Forrest Norrod and James Clifford. It's just kind of dry. This is on MaximumPC.com. Link to all this stuff, especially if you have a Shield controller, you're probably going to want to check out the show notes.
No, I'm looking at that. I mean, that the general manager of its graphics segment, John Bryant, chief marketing officer and chief strategy officer, would be noped.
What does it mean? We don't know.
We don't know. I mean, it's pure
Will this
speculation.
affect their Linux drivers? Probably not.
Something I've learned a long time ago is never say it can't get worse, though. So
No, it can always get worse. But
changes. You remember last year, Humble's like, check this business out. Instead of giving you Steam keys, we're going to give you this button that you have to click on, and the internet lost its collective shit. I mean, they did.
Yeah.
I got used to it. I liked it now. I mean, that's something I'm like, oh, yoink, 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 yoink. And I don't have to keep track of what I've redeemed or not. I just pull it up on the list. I'm like, all right, those are the keys. Well, Gabe's like, you know what? Fucko off. And Humble had to go.
For good reason. OAuth is a fucking mess.
Humble, the big change is they're just going back to giving out keys, which kind of surprises me because the whole justification for changing their entire system was to stop automated people buying 1-cent games, collecting the keys, and reselling them.
I guess now that they have the store and they're focusing on that, it sort of changed things up. I'm personally indifferent to this. I actually like the ability to generate the key because then you can give it to other people. Makes giveaways
Yeah, you
easier.
could already do it. There was the
yeah. They did
icon on
provide the
side.
option after the first couple weeks. They sorted that out. I don't know. Like I said, I'm largely impartial to this. Some people might lose their shit, i.e. Ben.
Mm-hmm. Shit lost, but printing money.
Oh yes, Hairbrained is back with another expansion to Shadowrun Returns and the excellent Shadowrun Returns Dragonfall, and they got funded.
Yeah, like 7-8 minutes after it launched.
Right.
Yeah,
like 7
the
minutes
first
and
hour after they launched, they already had the 100K.
Well, I mean, these guys have been putting out good games. I like Shadowrun Returns. One thing I'm a bit worried about is this is like a year after they've released their last game and they're releasing a new one. I have a funny feeling that they might overdo it and just like do a new Kickstarter every year, and then people will lose interest in the game. I mean, this is another example of a company that does Unity games right because they actually work when you run them like properly, as opposed to trying to take over both developers. One thing though, and I think that's really going to hurt the longevity of Shadowrun Returns as a game, is they made a big deal about its whole modability aspect, and they give you a level editor right off the bat that works under Linux. All the fucking user content sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's really bad.
It's awful.
And granted, they've actually worked the marketplace integration into the game, but the content's just terrible.
Oh, just complete shit, yeah. Which makes me really sad, because again, they're fun games. It's just...
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of the real-time strategy, but explain this like I'm a Vin. Isn't this just Shadowrun with a new skin, bro?
Well, it's the same game engine with a new story. Essentially, all like the games are mods, and then you just install a new mod, and that brings you the entire content of the game.
Much like the Neverwinter Nights expansions. But
or even the original
also
Half-Life expansions, where you could get like standalone games, but they were still mods.
Yeah.
That sort of.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, and okay, so
problem.
you remember that game we reviewed a couple of weeks ago, or a couple months ago now? Shit, Another Worlds.
Last
where
year.
we all played about 20 minutes of it and said, "Fuck this." Oh, The Heart of the Alien, the
Rage
sequel
quit
to
the game.
Another World, is being reverse engineered, a la Open Morrowind, Toontown rewritten and whatnot. One interesting thing is you do need the original game assets off of the Sega CD, so I hope you kept that one around.
Wow, I didn't even know they had a Sega CD version of this, and I was one of the 3 people that actually bought a Sega CD back in the day. Kind of with J-Man on this. I mean, this is old-fashioned fuck you hard with bad controls. Game had bad controls. I've never read into part 2 because I know. P-Man?
I'm kind of enthralled looking at the image that they have on their website at the bottom. Is that a penis?
Yes.
That?
Yes.
There's something seriously wrong with your penis, Pedro.
you need to go to a doctor, man. I mean,
I know, right?
I don't know. It looks a lot like a penis, but maybe it's just me.
yeah, penis on the brain, baby.
Maybe it is just you.
Okay,
It's
this,
all like Linux is hard.
this.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Thank you to Empty, Mike Tehan, our database administrator and WordPress developer, for just pointing us to this. Oh my god. This guy is Eric Lengil. He develops the C4 engine. The only game of note I can think of that actually uses it is Fat Princess, which is all rightly fun. I think it was on the PlayStation Network. Anyways, this guy essentially is saying, I am dropping Linux support because Linux is terrible. It's a fragmented mess. Blah blah blah.
Well, no,
I can't install Ubuntu.
What we need, Brad, is
that
to run down through
technology.
these tweets. The first one, it started with this. I'm going to try it all day to install Ubuntu 14.04 failed miserably. This just adds to the heaping pile of bad experiences with Linux. Now, 3 days later, I have reached the point where I feel morally obligated to drop all Linux support. Shit escalated, son. Shit escalated.
Right, seriously.
And the day after, started execution of Linux code from C4 Engine. And later that day, finished things of Linux code from C4 Engine. Negative 2008 lines. Good riddance.
Oh my god.
Okay. I just took through this when I was reading the forums. It's like this cat here was Linux is Ubuntu and no blah blah blah. And I don't know if he thought all of his Win Bros were going to like jump behind him and rally, be like, fuck Linux and all that. What happened, Brad? What actually happened? Was even the Win Bros were like, you can't install Ubuntu 14.04. Seriously? What? Then the rest of the internet found out and dogpiled his arse. What were you saying, J-Man?
Oh no! Actually, if you read into a bit of that dogpile, I don't think we have the Twitter link in the notes right now, but I'll fish that out and throw that in the news post. But our pal Liam at Phoronix, he had some kind words. Apparently, he was backing up this guy for dropping Linux support from his engine. Jesus Christ! Because that's what you want to. That's what you want to do on your Linux gaming site is actively promote the people who are not supporting Linux. But here's the thing: you can say that Linux is not everyone's cup of tea, but you can't go and disparage it for being patchwork. Because I think that's actually one of its strengths. Because if you don't like something like say Pulse Audio, you can rip it out and replace it with something like JackD if you feel like building a log cabin and shooting yourself. But it's just a lot of pointless bickering and belly aching because. Oh, yeah, because he can't figure out Ubuntu. He should clearly be using Arch Linux, because that is the superior distribution.
Oh, no, but he's considering Arch Linux. He failed at installing Ubuntu, but then someone said, oh, no, you should try Arch. It's much better than Ubuntu. And he's like, okay,
well,
I'll have a look.
In all fairness, Arch is about the easiest distribution in the world to get up and running.
Exactly.
Nowadays.
You can install Arch.
Everyone can install Arch.
But enough of this nightmare fuel. We shouldn't actually be talking about this guy, cause fuck him. Coming up next, we review a game that had my roommate incredibly concerned that I was being converted into a Christian.
Hail Santa.
And we're back, and we are throwing chairs at the Talos Principal by Crow Team, built on the Sirius Engine 4. And you can pick this up for, if you live in Europe, $20. If you live anywhere else, $40. That's right. Crow Team says fuck your currency, because it doesn't need it. But what is it? The Talos Principal is a first-person puzzle game in the tradition of philosophical science fiction. Made by Crow Team, the creators of Serious Sam, and written by Tom Joubert, FTL, and Swiper, and Jonas Kurz, the Sea will who made the Sea will claim everything.
Kiratsu.
It's very similar to Portal in that you sort of run around and solve puzzles, and instead of GLaDOS, you have to deal with God. So, of course, we have to judge our god, or their god rather, using the CHAIRQUISITION. One chair means that it's crap chairs, 2 chairs means that it's meh, 3 chairs means that it's pretty good, and 4 chairs means that it's amazing! And we also have our categories of Doom, mixed with working, and shiny sounds, controls, and fun. So, let's kick this off. Then, how did the Talos Principal make with the working?
Yeah, they made not working. Really, it did. Well, not at first. Let's start at step 1. I tested this on the Ubuntu 14.04 LTS 980. Remember that. It's going to be important. 4K displayed box of business. And this has been fixed. Fair enough. But when I first launched it, thanks Crow Team, they sent us 3 keys.
Now, remember that. It's going to be important too.
Launched it, and it immediately went, nope, your system cannot possibly play this amaze sauce that we've created. And it was like, would you still like to continue? And I'm like, why are you fucking telling me that and saying, have at?
I guess it's giving you just the warning. Hey, this may not work.
Right. And, then again, I was like, oh, man, should have bought those Titans. This 980's not going to cut it. Damn, Ben, what were you thinking? But I persisted. And at the time, this was working in the public beta.
This was like Tuesday.
Yeah, this was sorted. And they just released a patch, which got them back another chair for this week. This game's been out for more than a month, all right? So, with all that, here's another issue. Resolution options. Fuck you, because that's why. Sometimes you don't want to play everything in 4K, but you might ask, how many FERPs are you getting in 4K with a 980? Usually between 45 and 57, somewhere in there. And it's all right, and that's with everything on YOLO swag. So I could probably get a lot better if I cut it down to something less awesome. But I was like, I want to see how many FPSs I can get in 1080, because fuck all, it doesn't manage scaled resolution, so I couldn't do 1440 or anything like that. So I went to 1080, and I said, okay, 1080 full screen, and it went dying of fire. Seriously, it had the scrolly desktop of doom, which I haven't seen in a long time, but most people know what I'm talking about. It runs in a window, and then you can just play in 1080 in a window without borders and a fucking screen that big. No, I don't think so. Losing a chair for that noise. 3 chairs is making the working. J-Man.
Yeah, I also got the cannot run your game on the 670 powered AMD 1090T Fedora 64 or a Fedora 2064-bit box. But I mean, beyond that, I mean, you click OK and it works fine. I was averaging. I don't know what's up with the frame rate in this game, because like sometimes it'll be stupid high, and other times if you're just standing still, it'll idle at about like 22. I don't know what's going on with that. It's a bit screwy. But beyond that, I mean, it runs perfectly fine. I didn't have an issue, so 4 chairs.
Well, much like you guys, my Asus 970 Strix was not recognized at first. The games would still play fine. The message just kept showing up, even if you asked for it not to show up, because it offers to stop bothering you with it, but it doesn't work. So yeah, then I updated to the public beta, and oh, the message is gone. Now, the latest patch, they merged the public beta back into the mainstream, and it's fixed. So I can't really ding them a chair for it. And on the Amiga, with the FX 8370E and the Asus 970 Strix, it worked pretty much reasonably out of the box. 4 chairs.
So that's 3 chairs for Mix with the Working. Now for Shiny and Sounds, Ben.
So I got something. The FERPs, FPSs, however you want to enunciate it, completely all over the place, and that always brought me back to Ryan over at PC Pro when he was doing frame pacing or frame rating or whatever he wanted to call it, which is basically not just the raw number, but if that frame is actually doing fuck all to help smooth shit out. And that's the only thing I could think, because what J-Man said, you could be looking something beautifully complex, and it's like zooming along, and again, I'm kind of stuck unless I want to play it in a whole fucking window, playing this at, the full 4K resolution, UHD.
Oh, I feel so bad for you.
I know, crying to you. And I'm not getting 60, only 50. But, I mean, it would hit 57, something like that. Then you were like, oh, look, a penny, and you'd look down, it's like, you get 20 frames per second, fuck you. And that just genuinely irritated me. On top of not being able to, put it in 1080p or, 1440 or anything like that. But let's talk about Shiny. Yeah, you do know immediately this is from the creators of Serious Sam, because that texture palette, they only got that one, man. Definitely just architecture and the colors. It's like, yep, that's Crow Team. That's what they know. Doesn't look bad. Looks fun. Until, there's some things you can do, like playing around with things are, but they don't really lock it off correct. You can jump out of the zoned in areas and just whoosh, nope out and run and run and run and run. And eventually, like, the hand of God will come back and drop you back in the level. And I was like, okay, I didn't think
Well, it's that guy from Mario Kart. Who finishes you off the ends.
The hand or whatever it was.
Or the Wall Masters from Legend of Zelda.
Probably the biggest thing that I missed from this game is, and I'll talk about this later in the fun section, is when I'm playing a puzzle game, I don't play it for sounds. So I just normally didn't even have the headphone on at all. Outside of that, I mean, with the graphical slowdown, and yeah, I'm sure it had sounds, narration, and all the story, I didn't really care about because that's not what I look for in a puzzle game. But I'm still going to give it 3 chairs because I think it's a pretty solid looking bit of kit.
Oh yeah, it's pretty. He's pretty. I mean, the soundscape is mostly atmospheric. You hear just stuff in the background and things rustling. You're in like a giant computer program, so you hear like the random computer noises that remind you, oh, by the way, you're in the land of Tron, except it's green. Which, I'm glad that Crow Team has expanded their color palette beyond brown, because that's all I saw in Serious Sam 3. I'm going to be comparing this game a lot to Serious Sam 3 because I was so let down by this. Or by Serious Sam 3, anyways. Yeah, I mean, the game looks pretty. The frame pacing is a bit off at times. It doesn't really detract from the whole experience. The narration is kind of interesting as you start getting introduced to some of the other characters aside from, I'm Elohim, I am your one true God. Actually, funny story. I had that, Steam likes to grab my speakers and crank them to full whenever I launch a game. And so I'm going through the intro for Talos Principal, and he's like, I am Elohim, I am your creator, blah, 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 walk in my garden. And my roommate just runs in and is like, Jordan, are you turning Christian on me? I'm like, no, he's a robot, it's an allegory. Calm your tits. And he's like, you sure? Yes. Which, I mean, I appreciate him making sure that I'm not, drinking the Kool-Aid and whatnot, but still. Funny little anecdote. 3 chairs for Shiny Sounds.
Yeah, so I have a counter argument for Ven's no sounds in puzzle games. GLaDOS.
Oh, did you watch our playthrough of Portal 2? This guy did not pay attention to anything.
Yeah, I did. It was kind of excruciating, but yeah. First and foremost, the things I did not like about the Shinies and Talos Principals. What the hell is up with the shadows? This is Skyrim level bad. If you ever started Skyrim, even on Ultra, and you look at a shadow, it's like, what the hell is this blocky shit? Same thing here. You need to go into the options, find the appropriate slider to slide all the way up, because even on Ultra, it's about halfway up the thing. So, it's good. And Ven and Jordan both already mentioned, but yeah, the frame times are all over the map. Personally, I blame the texture fuck-ups in the walls, which apparently are intentional, since, they have to remind you that is technically
it's a simulation,
happening inside a computer. Yeah.
Reboot!
Yeah. Those two are me, having to actually look at the minute details and nitpicking all the stuff that I really didn't like, because in general, it looks amazing. And I'll also admit that I spent 20 minutes, not even at the main menu, the intro before the menu, 20 minutes just sitting, listening to the music, looking at the broken scenery. It was awesome. It was really, really awesome. I would give it 4 chairs, but I can't because, again, shadows, frame times, 3 chairs.
All right, so that's 3 chairs for Shiny and Sounds. Now here are the shorts. Sorry, there was a glitch in the Matrix. Now for the control section.
Controls.
It's going to be short.
Kind of hard to fuck this up, and they didn't, Brad, so don't worry about it. Using the yellow swag, gerbil of gerbilness, no problem. Cut on gerbil smoothing, though, because that not on is like even worse than you can imagine. Keyboard, default, completely laid out, sane. You don't have to do anything fast and tricky, but definitely with the gerbil smoothing, because a lot of shit you have to place has to be hella precise. And once that's sorted, no issue, and it was an option right there. So, boom. 4 chairs. I don't know if this works with a controller organ, and don't care.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a first-person game. You don't really play them with controllers unless, you got the auto-aim going. Yeah, but as for controls, it's pretty standard FPS fare. There's nothing really I can comment on it. The default layout is your standard WASD, mouse click, E for use stuff. Yeah, 3 chairs.
3 chairs?
3 chairs.
Boom.
I mean, it's not like absolutely perfect. My brain isn't exploding from the awesomeness that is the controls. But
Yeah, so 2015, look, there's rebindable keys and a working mouse sensitivity slider. Crow Team, you spoiled me. 4 chairs.
all right, so that's 3 chairs for controls. And finally, the subjective category. Fun! Ben, did you have fun?
It's not Portal, and I know. And it's like, you have to be some knuckle dragging down to Tolda. Like, but it's kind of resembling Portal over here. I mean, let's just face it. There's not a whole lot of game-breaking new mechanics in this business. At best, I'm going to say for it, it's a slightly above average puzzle game, first-person style. And when I say above average, yeah, with an asteroid, because things get hella repetitive, hella quick. And again, I wasn't paying attention to the story, which a lot of people, that's some pretentious self-referencing bullshit that it's like, whatever, don't care about that. And there's just nothing original over here, guys and goyles. It's moving boxes, guiding lasers, the puzzle game. That's what I got out of it. I don't hate it, but then again, with that price, I was kind of maybe expecting, a little reach around or something like that, and it just didn't do it for me. So I'm going to say, for the fun, we're going to give that business 2 chairs.
I mean, yeah, the comparisons to Portal are inevitable because it's a first-person puzzle game. I really like this. The first time I booted this up, I sank about 45 minutes into it, and I didn't even realize I had spent more than about 10-15 minutes playing. I do like the story in the game. I like sort of discovering what's going on and reading all the relevant literature and trying to figure out if my predictions are going to come true or not. It's a fun, challenging puzzle game. There are a couple ones that just make my brain hurt. I remember one that stood out was an escalating situation where I had to actually, that was the first one I actually had to look up the answer for, and I felt so stupid after doing it because it's just God damn it, you gave me the hint. That was right in the fucking name. God damn it, I feel dumb. And then, but it does get. But once you do figure out a bunch of these puzzles, especially some of the the more convoluted ones, you just feel awesome afterwards because you're like, yeah, I'm not a complete sped. I will say I end up dying quite a bit just because wait, can I reach that point without him exploding? No. Yeah, Crow Team, why couldn't you made Serious Sam 3 this fun? Fuck! 3 chairs.
Yeah. This game, Jordan already said it, but yeah, it gets a lot of comparisons to Portal because that's what people remember the best, because it's really the only other relevant puzzle game that's been out for the past 10 years.
First-person puzzle game. That's the big one.
Yeah.
Missed.
But yeah, that's the thing.
10 years.
And especially, the later ones like Uru. It follows. This game is a lot like Portal. Myst meets Portal. It's the whole. There's something happening in the real world, and we're sort of stuck on a simulation. And it's Portal because you have a robot, and there's a voice talking to you at the same time as you're figuring out the puzzles. So, yeah, okay.
My child.
For the game itself, it's got very good audio atmosphere, and the graphics are very pretty. I'm assuming, of course, that the texture fuck-ups are intentional, which apparently they are. I can't be sure. And, there aren't a whole lot of games coming out for Linux lately that I can say are genuinely good, that I've actually enjoyed. This is one of the exceptions. 4 chairs.
All right, so that's 3 chairs for fun. And we tally that up, and we get 3 chairs for the Talos Principal. So, Mentalgen, final thoughts.
Look at that. 3 chairs. That means check it out. And
Definitely check it out.
definitely check it out. But it's kind of hard to say check it out at, 40 wet, stinky caches. That's not something you just go poof, and drop the cache on. There were a few aha moments. I mean, when you're just looking at it from my perspective, which is I just want to play a puzzle game, there were a couple of puzzles that I was like, yes, after I figured it out. So that's in there. Maybe the story or something, but futzing around with the computer and all that, I was like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to hear voicemails from this segmented other realm of Moonverse. Don't care about that. Give me another fucking puzzle, Get that done, J-Man.
Yeah, this has the potential to be a huge time vampire. You will unknowingly sink hours of your life into this and not feel it. I don't want to say the game lives up to the hype, and it is certainly fairly expensive for what it is, but I would still recommend it. If you have the cash kicking around, I'd kick Crotein some money. They have been supporting Linux from Genesis, even going so far back in the day in 2003, 2004, getting Ickle Butts to port Serious Sam in the second encounter, and even they had Serious Sam 2 Linux port.
Yep.
So I would say keep supporting these guys because they're definitely doing it right. The game is fun as shit, and if you like stories that slowly and methodically unravel and give you these nice little aha moments, this is one for you. So I'd give this a recommend.
Yeah, unlike Ven, I wasn't looking forward to the puzzle so much. I was actually wanting to read more and listen more to the story and the audio logs and everything else. And I was just figuring out the puzzle so I could progress. I could get new entries in the terminals like, yeah, and I have an administrator account. You can do this and do that. Okay, I can see more stuff and I get more lore. And I get to the top of the elevator. You must not go into the tower. But I want to go in the tower. It looks freaking awesome.
Fuck you. I'd do what I want.
Yeah, so for me, it really was a story that sold me. Yeah, the puzzles, some of them are challenging, yes. Most of them are just annoying. They kind of get a bit repetitive after a while because again, it's just redirect the lasers, stack boxes, do a couple of things, and that's it. There's not a whole lot of variety.
Oh, then you learn that the bally, spinny, lasery cubes of death. Oh, you can stack boxes on those. Oh, thanks.
Yeah,
thanks for bringing that up. Give me that instruction.
Tutorial wouldn't go amiss, that's for sure. But
one thing I did notice was that the puzzles are a lot easier than the public test. Yes, they are. But yeah, for me, at $20, 20 euros, yeah, it's totally worth it. Wait for it to go on sale if you're in the US, maybe, and yeah, definitely get it.
All right.
Before we go, one other thing about the terminals. Every time I get met with a command prompt, I immediately start typing things, which the game really doesn't like. First world Linux problems coming up next. Hate mail. Oh God, the hate mail.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you're not watching us live, shame on you, because you just missed one of the best intermissions of all time. But, yeah. It's the hate mail! And if you were paying attention during the review, you should know that interesting things are coming. But, as usual, if you'd like to get in touch with us, go to LinuxGameCast.com, push the contact button, fill the form, prove you're smarter than Van's CAPTCHA thing bot he's got going on there, and we'll feature your thing. Unless, of course, it is a Indiegogo, Kickstarter, Steam Greenlight, whatever sort of campaign you're running. If you're trying to promote your game, make sure to send us some Steam keys, some GOG keys, some betas, alphas, demos, whatever.
a zip file with your My First Unity game, even.
Yeah, so remember, if you're trying to promote your game, make sure you let us know how we can play your current build of Linux, because if you don't, Not only will we not feature your thing, we will make fun of you.
All
Okay?
right.
All right. So here's some people that
Did it right.
kind of did it right. Yeah.
We talked about them in the Steam news section, actually. This is
Andrew writes, he says, "Hello, Gamecasters. We're reaching out to share that we've just launched a native port of Heroes of Steel. Giggity. To Steam, our post-apocalyptic RPG tells of betrayal and loss in a fallen medieval world. You pick up unlikely a classic RPG with a turn-based kind of storyline, World of Steel."
Well, wasn't it the plot to Oblivion?
We'd love to talk about the Linux porting
Yeah,
process,
that was
more
during
games
the
we're bringing
apocalypse.
to Linux, or help with any kind of review or game casting. The Linux port has 100% feature parity with Windows release, except for fucking working. And just added that in, receiving weekly updates, new features. And yes, Brad, you did do it correctly. That's why we gave you a mention on the show, even though I think P-Man's like, don't work, son.
Again, you need to install a 4-year-old library for it to work. When it comes to really old-ass libraries that your game needs, make sure to include, bundle them with the game when you upload it to Steam. I don't know
There's
if
this thing called
libgl
LD Library Path, and you can just have like a folder full of all the libraries you need.
Yeah.
And then you just have a start
I
script.
don't know if maybe libglfw has some weird licensing behind it that they can't distribute it, which I don't think that's
Then
the case.
why would you require it in the first place?
Yeah, but then again, I don't know what kind of engine they're using, but again, app, don't care. Next.
Yeah. Up next, these are okay. So this requires me to put on my best fake Russian accent. From Jekyll, this is Jacob Machilsky from Squatting Penguins team, one of devs behind indie godlike game The Mims Beginning. The game will officially be made available to early access on 14 January. I am attaching special early access key for the press below.
Oh,
And of course,
okay. Yeah, no, yeah.
Yeah,
Through the came into the face organ, and I was like, all right, just out of curiosity, and I was like, oh right, you were the guys that bugged the piss out of us when you first did like your little prototype thing, and it was like completely busted with the downloads and all that, and we finally just like, shoo. But you came back. You're on Steam Early Access, and I'm like, okay, one key, let's see if this works. And I was like, yeah, all right, it does work. It doesn't have resolution options or whatever. So I wrote back, and I said, you know what, Brian? You know us. You know those three of us. You sent us one key. We're going to need, at least 2 more, or we're not going to be able to follow it during your Early Access period. And, Comrade Jacob wrote back, and he said,
"Thank you, Hope. You will like our game, and also could write positive opinion on Steam in our store page. It would be great. Our policy for now makes that I could only send you 1 additional key. We will consider about 1 more key." And eventually, I actually got that key, and I loaded the game up. And I couldn't stand it after about 5 minutes, and I'm never going to play it again.
I played the demo, which is why I told Jordan to have the key. Here, you can has it.
One more for my Steam library of games I will never play ever.
it was, we were talking about this last night when we had our little impromptu and
powwow.
Sex.
Sexy powwow.
Sexy powwows. Best powwow, baby.
I sucked on the peace pipe for a while, if you catch my meaning.
I was sitting there like, telling J-Man that I was physically fucking vibrating, trying not to write them back. So go on the Turkigas, comrade. Maybe we is consider much 1 additional key. And it's like, listen, man. Crow Team this week, 3 keys, double fine,
for their $60
times.
game, by the way.
Right, 3 keys,
Yeah.
frictional, all their keys, early a week and a half before that last game launched, and more things and indie developers that we can't even fucking remember because they watched the show.
Check out the Balls on Brad though. You will like our game.
No, we must post positive review comment. It is very, very important.
Yes.
It has to be positive.
Well,
one share is technically positive because it's not negative.
Yeah,
share.
it's still more than 0, so that's positive.
right. I mean, I'll give you a positive piece of advice. I mean, don't. I mean, I kind of feel like I'm being that guy. I'm like, don't you know who we are? And I hate doing that. But at least watch the show and understand that if you're going to get some free promotional shit to like the Linux Gaming Podcast that's out there.
You mean the Gaming on Linux podcast?
It's brilliant.
I've actually listened to 2 episodes of that.
Hey, they're trying. They're trying.
All right. Okay, so on that bombshell, cue the music.
Let's cue that music. You can always find us. Check us out. Look at this business, man. We got this brand new shiny thing for you. It's called Patreon, a podcast for people who game on Linux and do other stuff good too. Give us a few quid. I mean, whatever you can afford. We're going to do some stupid shit as rewards if we get a little bit of that wet staking. Like we said earlier, if you're already donating to that, you can. It would actually be a bit more helpful if you went and changed your donation structure over to Patreon. Do the math, figure that out, because it's just easier for us to track, and we get a better taste of the cut. And Patreon was...
At one point, if you're going to go from a monthly fee to using
That's
Patreon,
why I said do the
we
math.
charge per episode. Yeah,
Right.
we charge per episode, just FYI.
Indeed. So, and Patreon was, created by musicians to help this shit out and all that. They're good people. Now that they got the system sorted, we want to jump in and get a taste of that action. But you can always find us live around 9:30 Eastern Moon Time and get in chat room dynamic to scream in our face organs. The other 6 days of the week, we're in chat room static at LinuxGameCast.com. J-Man. Oh, right. At Vinstone, cleverly disguised plus Vinstone.
At the Burning Pool, plus Jordan Smug, Twitter, Google Plus,
Yeah, what they said, except Pedro Mateos plus Pedro Mateos at unaccounted for. You can read it.
And
Yeah.
you can email them. You can send your hate mail to sandy@rootgamer.com.
Indeed.
Yes.
That's always required. So, I guess at the end of the day, we just all need to learn to respect Hovercat, because Hovercat is best cat.
It's the Orville copter, man.
No, that's what you need to laugh.
Meow 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 meow.
Then you have
Someone needs to
Toxoplasmic
remix
Gondii,
the
and you
cat
turn
for
into a
that.
crazy cat lady.
Toxoplasmic Gondii.